Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back into my channel. So in this lab, we're going to configure an Azure Firewall. But first thing first, it's necessary that you go to the Microsoft website to check out different articles and steps, even though that, to be frank, this article been updated since um January 11, 2020. Third, now that article here, if you follow it, you would not be able to configure the the Azure firewall. The reason is simple is that the portal has changed and a lot of things is not where it used to be. So this is why I would advise you to follow along with this video. But it's a good practice that you check the Microsoft, the learn that Microsoft.com website, because usually it would giving you the topic, not only the steps on how to configure certain things, but also explain the technology as well. So let's not wasting time. So you see yourself controlling outbound network access is an important part of an overall network security plan. For example, you may want to limit access to websites, or you may want to limit the outbound IP addresses and port that can be accessed. So one way you can control outbound network access from an Azure subnet is with Azure Firewall. With Azure Firewall, you can configure application rule. So there we go. Application rule that defines fully qualified domain name, FQDN, FQDNS, that can be accessed from a subnet. Network rules that define source address, protocol, destination port, and destination address. So network traffic is subjected to the configured firewall rules when you route your network traffic to the firewall as the subnet default gateway. So it says that this article, you create a simplified single VNet with two subnets for easy deployment. For production deployment, a hub and spoke model is recommended when the firewall is in its own VNet, the workload server or peered networks in the same region with one or more subnets. So there go the architecture. It's showing you the Azure Firewall subnet. It says this firewall is in the subnet and the workload server. The workload subnet. So the workload server is in the subnet. The subnet's network traffic goes through the firewall. Now, there go the steps to configure the firewall. You really have to step-by-step guide to actually go through. So this is not something that you can just click and have fully configured. You have to do with virtual machine and storage and storage account and a lot of more simple resources, but not the firewall. It's too many things that have to be done. So typically, the way these steps, the way this is set up for your production environment, you normally have to have a hub and spoke model. So with a firewall, it's on its own virtual network. And all of your servers are referred to our workload servers. And really the endpoint you want your clients to connect to your virtual machine and all those things, they typically in peer VNet in the same region with one or more subnets. So this will be, this will be our hub and spoke. And say I have the internet and I have the network that has my actual resources on it, and I have to connect to that we do not want to have happen. So there go this article here. It's kind of explained the setup to test the network environment, to deploy a firewall, create a default route, configure an application rule to allow access to Google, configure a network rule to allow access to external DNS server, configure a NAT rule to allow a remote desktop to the test and server, so you test the firewall. So it kind of says that this article used classic firewall rule to manage the firewall. The preferred method is to use firewall policy. To complete this procedure using firewall policy. So just go ahead and just take a look at this yourself. It's a very important that you understand that, I mean, deploy a firewall in Azure, it can be very complicated. Now, again, if you follow along with this article, you may get some hint and tips, but it's not gonna help you out on configure the whole firewall. I've tried that with this article and it wasn't help. Now, let me just go ahead and start creating this firewall as we were told. Let's go ahead and pull that up and just refresh. Okay, so let me go home. So first and foremost, we gotta create a resource group. We get up, yep, we hit create. We're gonna name it. Let's name this resource group test dot FW. Oh, yep. Dot F. Sorry, guys. So test dot FW for firewall, and then RG for resource group. I'm gonna put this on East US, and I can review and create. So now it passed the validation test, and now we create. All right, so my resource group is being created. Yeah, these are the two ones here. It's just here by default. I could take these out. I'm not sure. Okay, so it don't bother me. I'll just leave them. Now, you can create a virtual network right then and there. Let's say you go to where is the virtual network here? So let's see more. Oh, so it's right there. Okay. Now, hit create a virtual network. Now make sure that your VNet you put your VNet on the same resource group as everything else. You got to put them on the same region too as each US. Now you can name this VNet. What's this? You can name this VNet test dash firewall dash VM. And now with IP address, you could leave this default IP address. You can go here and change this name and call it Azure Firewall Subnet. And you could slightly change a little bit on this IP address. Just change it a little bit. Make this 26 instead. And hit save. Now, if you want to, you could create another workload subnet right then and there. So I've tried that before. It didn't work for me. I couldn't find it on the other side. So, man, if you want to, you could create a subnet here and make this be your workload subnet. Tell you what. I wonder if I should just do that. And if I can find it, I will erase this one and make the other one. So let's just do a workload that SN. So we could give it an IP address. We could give it an IP address of 10. Okay, so let's give it an IP address. Say 10.0.2.0/24. And just hit add. Now, by the way, guys, just to avoid making this video longer, I'm gonna make this video in partition because creating an Azure firewall is such a long step. So if I were to just create this process in just one step, it would take too long. So just stay tuned. I'm following the other steps in another video. I'm gonna make this step 1, 2, and 3 so that you would understand that there's different steps there. Thank you. I'll see you in the next lab.